Today, we will finalize our conversation with Megan Gorman talking about all the president's money. Before we do that, though, I got to tell you, it would seem pretty obvious that we are under attack, especially if we are in the middle class in the United States. If you think about it, these globalist elites, and I know there are people out there who say, oh, this guy's got a tinfoil hat on. No, I don't. Not at all. In fact, I debunk a lot of these theories if you've been listening to my show for any amount of time. But it would be a real stretch not to believe that for really, these last several years, that we do not have legitimate political risk in the United States. The United States is like the trophy prize to get the US to fall into the hands of, the collectivist, the globalists, the elites of whatever flavor and breed, right? It is the ultimate prize to win over the US, right? I mean, they've done it with many, many other countries throughout the world and throughout time. But the US is the pinnacle trophy prize to get. And if you think about how we are just so under attack in so many ways, we have got poisonous food that is attacking our bodies. The big pharma, thank God a lot of this stuff is finally coming out about that thing people were doing in their arm a few years ago. All of this, you look at the number of those things that's required, and I'm not talking about the COVID era. I'm just talking about if you have a kid, right? And then you look at the rates of allergy problems, autism problems, they're just skyrocketing. I mean, what is going on? You look at the suicide rates, they're through the roof. I mean, this is insane. What is happening? The substance abuse problems. How is it that your teenager has heart problems? That's insane. Like, how can you not think that we are just under attack, right? And then you see this heartbreaking video. Did you see the video of that woman who lives in Ohio, who went to the city council and talked about how they dumped, 20,000 Haitian refugees in this little town, Springfield, Ohio, or something like that?
I'm done with what I'm seeing. It is so unsafe in my neighborhood anymore.
Starting with our administration, we gave TPS, temporary protected status, to Haitian migrants, 55,000. And then more recently, we extended temporary protected status to over 100,000 Haitian migrants for that very reason, that they need support, they need protection.
I mean, this is treason. The government is literally working against the people. There's just no question about it. And there's one guy that probably isn't working against the people, and you know who he is. He's in this contest we've got going. But the woman, I mean, she and her cronies are clearly against the people. The homelessness rate, just insane. I mean, I was in downtown, I'm in Austin, Texas now. And, the last several days, I was at a conference in downtown Austin. It's turned into a shithole. This is a city for many years I wanted to move to. And yeah, the suburbs are still okay, but it is unbelievable. I mean, people laying in, I took a picture of this one guy who was just crazed out, drugged out, I'm almost sure he was homeless. I don't know, lying in the middle of the crosswalk in the street, just lying there. And it was right by a coffee shop, and I went and sat at that coffee shop for probably 40 minutes. The guy laid there the whole time, just, totally disheveled, dirty, just a complete mess. I mean, it really makes me think that a good action step for any of you listening, and I can't believe I'm saying this, I really can't, is to sell the home in which you live so you can be more portable. Years ago, during the Great Recession, 16 years out of that now, okay, or maybe 17, depending on how you count. During the Great Recession, I said that the best thing you could have on a resume is mobility, because you could move to where the jobs are, right? But one of the key benefits that I think you're going to need in the future is mobility. Now, it's great because you can still own lots of rental properties, right? Because you don't live in them. You're not going to have to suffer with any political risk of the type I've been talking about. You know, if they dump 20,000 Haitian refugees in the town where you own rental properties, that's just going to push your rent up. Okay. I mean, I loved it when they sent these people to Martha's Vineyard.
Florida's Governor Ron DeSantis flying roughly 50 migrants to Martha's Vineyard, Massachusetts.
Those weren't Haitians, but you know what I mean. I mean, it's just, you got to send them to the wealthy suburbs where these rich liberal elites live. That's the best place for them to go. Yeah, there is legitimate political risk in America now. There really is. Thank God we still got these three branches of government, so it moves slowly. The risk is slow. In other countries, it can be fast. It can be overnight. You know, what is the coup? What do they do when there's a coup, right? You know, they command the army, or at least a part of the military or the army, and then they take over the TV station, the media, they shut down. Oh, wait, in Brazil, they shut down X, right? I mean, no more Twitter in Brazil. This is insanity, what is going on in the world right now, folks. It is absolutely insane. Free speech is under attack. Our bodies are under attack. They've been hollowing out the middle class for decades now, you know, so the wealth is under attack. It is crazy what's going on in the world right now. But on the bright side, maybe on the bright side, maybe this isn't the bright side, I'm not sure. It could go either way, right? But on the bright side, look at this. An AI scientist is inventing and running its own experiments. So artificial intelligence is one thing, but artificial intelligence that is self-motivated, that can process data and, you know, quote unquote, think, you know, a billion times faster than any of us can think, that's insane. It's incredible. And then you move to the step of artificial intelligence that is networked together. So all of it can talk to each other all around the globe or all around the universe, right? And you get artificial intelligence, and then you move to artificial general intelligence. And you get to a point where AI is not only as smart as the smartest human, but it is smarter than all humans. And maybe that's where we're going. I mean, not maybe. I'm pretty sure that's where we are going, right? But this AI scientist, and there's going to be a billion more of these, is letting programs learn through open-ended experimentation that may unlock remarkable new capabilities as well as new risks. It's an amazing time to be alive, but it is scary. Now, this might be the thing that saves us from this crazy political risk I was talking about. It might be I don't know. You know, we just don't know. It's just too early to tell. Researchers at the University of British Columbia have developed an AI scientist that autonomously designs and conducts machine learning experiments, collaborating with Oxford and Sakana AI. The project explores open-ended learning, allowing AI to generate novel ideas, its own ideas, right? Recent findings include improvements in image generation and deep learning. While results are modest, the potential for more capable AI systems is significant, raising concerns about reliability and safety. This inflection point, you know, the hockey stick on the chart inflection point, comes so quickly with this type of thing. It will make your head spin. It'll happen so fast. I mean, we are talking 6 months, a year. This is not evolution, this kind of stuff. It can move so quickly because the power of its processors are so fast that it is revolutionary beyond maybe any kind of revolution we've ever understood in technological advancement. So pretty amazing and scary at the same time, but that doesn't have a lot to do with my political risk comment earlier. Look at this. Here's a tweet that you can't see in Brazil, I guess, or in North Korea. I guess they're kind of in the same league now. For too long, the average American has been squeezed by big banks and financial elites. It's time to take a stand together. And this comes from Defiant Trump. So there you go. And this story broke a couple of weeks ago. In 2011, senior officials from the Biden administration, including the White House, repeatedly pressured our teams. This is Zuckerberg's letter, Mark Zuckerberg. Maybe he's waking up and becoming a decent human being, or maybe he's just trying to, just lighten his load for the prison term he might serve someday. Hopefully, we'll see. A lot of frustrations in our team. When we didn't agree, right? Oh, they didn't agree with the censorship. Come on. You sure about that? Ultimately, it was our decision whether or not to take content down. And we own our decisions, including COVID-19 related changes we made to our enforcement in the wake of this pressure. I believe government pressure was wrong. Yeah, I don't believe that, but whatever. And I regret, and I don't believe that either, that we were not more outspoken about it. More outspoken? You didn't tell anybody this. What do you mean? Like, this is the enemy talking to you, right? The people that put me in Facebook jail repeatedly, YouTube do the same thing. They take down the videos. They give you a warning. They say, go to a re-education camp. It's 2024. Haven't we seen this stuff play out? I mean, this is what you do in the Soviet Union. This is what you did under Chairman Mao. This is what they do currently in North Korea. I mean, literally, like, it's the 2024 version of re-education camps. Are you fucking kidding me? This is insanity, okay? So Zuckerberg goes on to say, I also think we made some choices that, with the benefit of hindsight and new information, we wouldn't make today. Really? So you thought that, a couple of years ago, Mark, you thought, oh, censorship is okay. And, it's okay to spin the news and ghost people, make a ghost posting. I can't believe we're even talking about this, people. I can't believe it. Like I said to our teams at the time, I feel strongly that we should not compromise our content standards due to the pressure from any administration, like the Biden administration, in either directions. And we are ready to push back if something like this happens again. It's happening now. It's happening now. I mean, Facebook is still giving out warnings. It's amazing. If I post a picture on Facebook of what I had for lunch, I get 1,000 people that look at it, right? But when I post a picture of something about, this evil witch who wants to turn into America into a homeless gulag, the one who says, with a stroke of my pen, I can have people arrested. With a stroke of my pen, I can ruin their lives. They'll lose their job. I mean, she said that. It's on the video. Look at it. Like, have you seen that video going around? This is insanity. It's just crazy. So that's what you got. Zuckerberg doing that. So look, if you want to avoid some of this political risk, if you want to have a plan B, join us on Wednesday. JasonHartman.com Wednesday. We're going to talk about unlocking global freedom. This has been a long requested topic. All of you empowered investors have been requesting this for a very long time. And we're finally doing a masterclass on it, and it's totally free. So if you're interested in offshore planning, if you're interested in asset protection, if you're interested in dual citizenship, having a second passport or a third passport or a fourth, if you're interested in having more options, join us on Wednesday and check out what you can do here. If you're interested in second citizenship by investment, by ancestry, there are all sorts of options. This is a whole world of options and opportunities. Or maybe you just want to live abroad for a few years like I do, just to try some different things, get a simple visa or residency permit. Join us on Wednesday, and that's at noon Pacific, 3:00 Eastern, jasonhartman.com/Wednesday. And this is a Zoom meeting, so you'll be able to ask your questions and get them answered. We have about 90 minutes with you for this masterclass. We have two great speakers. Matthew and Tatiana are both going to speak, and it is going to be a very, very interesting session. So join us on Wednesday, jasonhartman.com/Wednesday, and let's get to our conclusion of all the president's money.
The self-employed thing is difficult because you're self-reporting your income.
Yep.
But banks, when you go in as a self-employed person to get a mortgage, it's almost like they don't believe you. Like they want to see your P&Ls.
Yeah, of course.
And there's a lot of businesses in this country, people who have like a solo small business, they're not keeping the best books right?
Yep.
People are not good at some of the belt and suspender stuff of personal finance.
Mhm.
So, it just is hard to get qualified. And like, I've known people where when they finally get qualified, they have to pay a higher interest rate.
Yeah.
But I think the other thing with real estate that is concerning, and it's a crisis coming at all of us, is the home insurance issue. So if I could be anything today, I'd want to be a roofer in California. Every client of mine is do new roofs on because they're desperate to save their home insurance coverage. I have people who before were paying $4,000 or $5,000 a year in homeowners that are now paying $15,000 and are being moved into the California Fair Plan to get coverage. So this is important as real estate investors because it's getting harder to maintain your property. And the states are not stepping in to protect us. Whether it's California, Florida, Massachusetts, Texas, North Carolina, we're all struggling with this issue. And it's going to make being a real estate investor a lot harder.
Yeah, but the thing is that ultimately landlords and corporations are just pass-through entities. The tenant ends up paying the bill for that. So if the landlord, has to improve their property or if they have to pay higher insurance, they don't pass it through immediately, but it does get passed through and it just means higher rents ultimately. Otherwise, fewer landlords or fewer investors enter the market. There's fewer landlords, there's less supply. And we have that problem. I mean, the thing is with all this stuff is everybody panics about higher insurance or higher mortgage rates or whatever. But all you have to do is lag everything by 2 years and it all starts to pencil again. It's just the waiting period for the 2 years before things, when they're imbalanced, they all balance in a couple of years,
Right.
A lot of people.
But let me ask you this question, right? Because like you, I love real estate. I have assets and I get that, right? I can pass it on to my tenants. But like there's that struggle of, okay, I want to make sure I'm good as a landlord and able to make money. But then there's that struggle of, I also want others in the United States to be able to be financially successful. To me, the middle class, that center, the ability to have a strong middle class is when America does best.
I agree.
Right. And we're seeing them get eroded away, and with rents going up, it makes it harder.
Read the book from years ago that I've been recommending for 20 years, Lou Dobbs' book, War on the Middle Class. It's fantastic. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. And he was right.
Yeah,
he was right.
Yeah.
And so this is where it's like, how do you find that balance? And one of the things that frustrates me about the divisiveness of this country today is, I don't really, they're both extreme, right?
Yep.
We got to go towards the middle because we need to come up with solutions to help people feel that they can build wealth, make the American dream, pay for college. And there's just a lot of things that the systems today that don't make sense, that did, when they first gave 501c3 status to colleges, right? Tuitions weren't what they are today.
Or Section 230 protection to big tech companies. One of the major problems in this country is these goddamn iron triangles. You get all these self-interested people and companies, and they just won't let it go. The politicians are getting paid off by lobbyists, and the corporations are benefiting, and it's just a triangle you can't break. You could use that example with labor unions, homeowners associations, a million things. There's so many problems. It's just terrible. It really
and going
is.
back to my book, right? What was really striking to me is how many of our presidents were born poor. Or, didn't have a lot of money, not middle class. I mean, Gerald Ford talks about growing up with not a lot of money. Richard Nixon.
Well, same with Nixon, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Nixon, Whittier, California. His dad owned a gas station and a fruit stand.
I've been to his little house at his library.
Yeah. I mean, Herbert Hoover, these guys, but they all had this idea that if they worked hard, and they talk about it, if you read their letters and you read what they say, they all believed if they worked hard, they were going to get access to the opportunity set. I don't believe people today have the same belief. And I think you're completely correct. That iron triangle is making it so difficult to have belief. And that's what's so frustrating. I mean, the fact that tuitions are $90,000 a year, it's crazy.
And that's because the government insures student loans. If they would stop doing that, the tuitions would fall to where they should be, and the market would dictate the price.
But the student loan people have lobbyists, so it's like that vicious circle.
It's awful. And why is it, to your point earlier, Megan, why is it that it's so hard for a 25-year-old to get a home loan, yet it's a cinch for an 18-year-old to get a student loan for the same amount of money?
Yes.
And they don't have to have any income as the student. but
Yeah.
they got to have tons of income as the home buyer. But I'll tell you something, the good news is this, okay? For all the millennials and the Gen Zers, okay? You've got, and I know you've analyzed this when you worked at Goldman Sachs, I'm sure you did, and as a wealth manager now you do. They've got about $85 trillion in inheritances coming their way, okay? So that is the biggest wealth transfer in world history coming at them. It's almost equivalent to the GDP of the entire planet, the entire human race in 1 year, coming at millennials and Gen Zers as that wealth is passed through the generations from their parents down. So that's one thing. The other thing is the technologies we've access to nowadays make it really easy for people to start their own business, easier than they ever could before. And the upside potential in what they can do and what they know and their access to information now is absolutely staggering. So probably for most people, you shouldn't bother going to college. It's a complete ripoff. If you're going to be a professional, you got to go to college. So there are cases where it's needed. But if you can just self-educate, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you probably, that's your best plan. Get some internships and learn that way.
The Abraham Lincoln, George Washington route, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Tell us.
Lincoln, we had 12 presidents that didn't go to college.
Yeah.
Lincoln, Washington, Truman, right? All of them, they couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
They could not afford it.
And back then it was cheap.
Right. I mean, Lincoln arguably, could have tried to find a way to get into Harvard. He was brilliant, but part of it is it's the grit of figuring it out. And part of it is the self-education, right? The constant learning. And that's the thing you learn. I'm willing to make I'm not saying it's going to happen in our lifetime, but I think the US will have a president again who didn't go to college or didn't finish, because we're starting to see data. Pew Research Center came out with a study. Like 1 in 4 Americans don't find a college degree important anymore. That's a big deal. That has changed over 20 years. Right. Because when I was young and you were young, Jason, not that we're not young now, but when we were growing up, we were told you had to go to college to get a good job and good salary. Yep. And today the mindset you have to have is going to college going to help me grow net worth?
No, people are rejecting it. And listen, college would be fine if it was reasonably priced. Okay, I would say everybody should go to college if they're paying, $1,000 a semester. But it's absurd.
Or don't give them 501c3 status, right?
Yeah. Oh, I agree. Why should they be nonprofits? Why should Harvard or any of these schools have these giant endowments? It's absurd. All of these colleges are just hedge funds.
Yes.
They're the biggest landowners in any of their towns. The college owns more real estate. They're investing in all kinds of stuff. They're hiring brand managers and companies to promote their athletic teams. They're scoring patents and trademarks. This is insane.
It's a racket. And look, by the way, if they want to be a diversified
they're not supposed to be businesses.
Right. Okay? But if they do, then we shouldn't give them the tax exemption. And
of course,
it's okay. And that rule was put into place when things were different. Right. And it's not, this is where I think as Americans, we need to have better discussions about our institutions, because Americans are constantly reinventing themselves from, the 1700s to, the settlers going west to the building of the railroad, right? Yeah. All of this stuff that we've gone through, it's because we've been able to reshape our institutions. Right now, we're in a period of time where we're struggling to reshape the institutions, and we're not able to help others get to build wealth. I never think of wealth as a pie where it's only a limited amount of pie. Wealth is something anybody can achieve if they have the opportunity set.
And you can grow this, you can grow the size of the pie. But the reason these institutions are in gridlock now and controlling so much is, number one, the way capital formation works in this world is it's too much of a winner take all system. We need term limits on these politicians.
Yes.
Being in office, in any public office, was never meant to be a career. None of our founding fathers thought that. That wasn't the way it was supposed to be. They were supposed to leave their district and serve for a short time and go back and run their businesses and do their thing. And we've got to have term limits, and we've got to change the way lobbying works in this country. And we've got to get the companies and the foreign governments and the foreign interest out of our political money system. It's just,
It's
oh boy,
difficult.
Megan,
Yeah, there's a lot
you're
you and I
so,
could go on about.
yeah, I
Yeah.
know. It's
So
so interesting to talk to you, but just kind of wrap it up for us on wherever you want to take it, something we didn't talk about.
Yeah.
And of course, give out your website. And the book is fascinating, so everybody should check it out.
yeah, look, I think that we can learn a lot from the presidents in building wealth and sort of the ups and downs. Like people think to make money, it's all one upward journey, right? It's a lot of ups and downs. And you've started this talking about Jerry Ford. And I think I'll finish with Jerry Ford. He was someone who didn't grow up a lot of money. He actually used to donate blood at $25 a pop to help pay for his tuition. But he was never afraid of the pivot. And what I mean by that is when things were starting to maybe go sideways or, he was given an opportunity set, he was never afraid to go against the grain. Mm-hmm. And, he was first recruited to be an NFL player. He turned it down, right? Every time he wasn't afraid to be different. And then in his finances, he struggled paycheck to paycheck till he left the White House. Mm-hmm. And the reason he ended up monetizing is he said, and I have it in an oral history, he was like, look, I'm a capitalist, God damn it. I'm going to go make some money. Yeah. And he did a bunch of different things, took on speeches, built real estate, got on corporate boards. But he also made mistakes at times. He did a series of medals with the Franklin Mint, and people were like, oh, that's very gauche, right? Mm-hmm. And so he wasn't afraid when he started to fail to pivot away from it. And so I really encourage people to think about that with their own money is, not every day is going to be puppies and kittens and rainbows. But when you see yourself starting to not do well, don't be afraid to say this isn't working and move in the other direction.
Yeah. And Megan, that is such a great point. The other thing I'd like to just add to that before we go is that we all have all of these challenges and setbacks in our life. And some people allow a setback to become the excuse to not keep going, right? Yes. And the world just forgets about them. This adversity, it like Nixon says in his book, In the Arena, which is such a great book, by the way, is that the adversity that doesn't kill you makes you stronger, basically, is, in some aspect. And just the power of momentum, of keeping going, of just every day getting up and doing the work, it just has this incredible effect on the flywheel of your life. So I really encourage people to look at it that way.
And it's when you study luck, right? Luck is not something that's whimsical that happens. You realize it's about consistency. Yep. And so even though people chalk things up to luck, when they're really talking about I've been consistent in my behaviors.
Yep. You make your own luck. Very good. Megan.
So Jason, you can find my book at allthepresidentsmoney.com or on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, or Books A Million. And feel free to check out my website because we're going to be having a tour at the presidential libraries. And I appreciate you having me on.
Good stuff. Well, thank you, Megan. All the President's Money. Check it out. And Megan Gorman, thanks so much.
Thanks.
We have a super interesting episode. Yeah. We have welcome empowered investors. No, that's no good either. Blooper reel. There you go. Even if our communist, what do I want to say? Blooper. Even if our